The bank manager stared at his computer screen for a long moment. Then he looked at me, then back at the screen. Then he picked up his phone and made a call, speaking quietly to someone on the other end. I sat in the leather chair across from his desk, holding my grandmother's rusty key in my hands. The same key my father had laughed at 3 months ago at Easter dinner. The same key everyone had said was worthless because the bank had failed decades ago. The manager hung up and made another call. Then another. I watched him speak urgently into the phone, his expression shifting from confusion to disbelief to something that looked almost like awe. "Mr. Holloway," he finally said, setting down the phone, "I need to ask you some questions. This key, the one with the number 1847, where did you get it?" "My grandmother gave it to me, Edith Holloway. She used to have an account here before First Tennessee was acquired." "Yes." He turned his monitor so I could see it. "Mr. Holloway, your grandmother's safe deposit box was opened in 1981. For 43 years, the annual fee has been automatically deducted from a trust account she established. The box has never been accessed. Not once. That is not possible. My father said the bank failed. He said everything was lost. First Tennessee did not fail. It was acquired by another institution in 1999, and then acquired again in 2004. The safe deposit boxes were transferred with each acquisition. Your grandmother's box has been sitting in our vault, untouched, for over 4 decades. I looked at the key in my hand. The rust, the worn edges, the number 1847 barely visible through the corrosion. "Can I see it?" "The box." The manager hesitated. "There are procedures, verification of identity, documentation. I have her power of attorney. I have been her legal guardian for 6 years. He nodded slowly. "Then yes, you can see it. But Mr. Holloway, I should warn you." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Based on the records I am looking at, based on the insurance documentation from 1981, this box contains items of significant value. I am going to need to call in a security team before we open it." "How significant?" "The insurance valuation from 1981 lists contents worth approximately $200,000. Adjusted for inflation and market appreciation of certain assets." He shook his head. "I cannot give you an exact figure until we see what is inside. But you should prepare yourself." I was not prepared. I do not think anyone could have been prepared for what I found in that vault. I should have seen it coming. 11 years of signs, all pointing to this exact moment. My grandmother, Edith May Holloway, was born in 1935 in a small town in rural Tennessee. Her father was a watchmaker, a quiet man with steady hands who taught her the value of patience and precision. Her mother died when she was young, and she grew up in the back of her father's shop, learning to see the beauty in small things, in delicate mechanisms, in treasures that most people overlooked. She started working at Whitfield's Fine Jewelry in Nashville when she was 19 years old. It was supposed to be a temporary job, something to pay the bills while she figured out what she really wanted to do with her life. But she fell in love with the work. The sparkle of diamonds under the display lights, the deep red of rubies, the green of emeralds, the way gold caught the light and held it. She had her father's eye for detail and her mother's gift for seeing value where others saw ordinary things. She worked at Whitfield's for 45 years, rising from sales clerk to assistant manager to head buyer. She traveled to gem shows and estate sales, building relationships with collectors and dealers, developing an expertise that made her one of the most respected jewelers in the Southeast. She met my grandfather, Harold, at a church social in 1958. He was a mechanic, practical and kind, with rough hands and a gentle heart. They married a year later, bought a small house in a quiet neighborhood, and raised 2 children, my father Clive and my Aunt Maureen. They were not wealthy by most standards, but they were comfortable. Grandpa Harold worked hard, and Grandma Edie had a small income from the jewelry store and, more importantly, a small collection of pieces she had acquired over the years. Nothing flashy, nothing that would draw attention. Just a few select items that she recognized as special, that she bought when she could afford them and kept safe for the future. She was not a hoarder. She was a collector. There is a difference. A hoarder keeps everything. A collector knows exactly what is valuable and what is not. Grandpa Harold died in 1995. Heart attack, sudden and unexpected. Grandma Edie was devastated, but she carried on the way women of her generation carried on. Quietly, with dignity, without asking for help she did not need. She retired from Whitfields in 2001, at the age of 66. She had her pension, her social security, her small savings. She moved to a smaller house, sold some furniture she did not need anymore, and settled into the quiet rhythms of retirement. That was when things started to go wrong. I was 13 years old when I first noticed something was different about Grandma Edie. We were at a family gathering, some holiday or birthday, and she was telling a story about something that had happened at the jewelry store decades ago. Halfway through, she stopped. Her eyes went vacant. She looked around the room like she did not recognize where she was. "Mama?" my Aunt Maureen said. "Are you okay?" Grandma Edie blinked. "I am fine. I forgot what I was saying." Everyone laughed it off. Old people forget things. It was nothing to worry about, but it kept happening. More frequently, she would lose her train of thought mid-sentence. She would forget names, faces, appointments. She would ask the same question 3 times in an hour. By 2012, the family was using the word dementia. By 2014, she was living in a nursing home, unable to care for herself, her brilliant mind supposedly crumbling into confusion and forgetfulness. That was what everyone said. That was what everyone believed. But I was not so sure. I started visiting her when I was 23 years old, right after I joined the fire department. I was driving past the nursing home one Sunday and thought about how I had not seen her in months. My father rarely visited. My aunt complained that it was too depressing. My brother Spencer had his own life, his own priorities. So I stopped. I walked into her room, not sure what to expect. She was sitting by the window, looking out at the parking lot. When she heard me come in, she turned. "Brennan," she said. Her voice was clear, sharp. "You came to see me." "Hi, Grandma. How are you feeling?" "The same as always. Old, tired, forgotten." She gestured to the chair beside her bed. "Sit. Talk to me. Tell me about your life." We talked for 2 hours that first visit. She asked about my job, about my girlfriend, about my plans for the future. She remembered things I had told her years ago, details that I had forgotten myself. She was lucid, present, engaged. It did not match what my family had told me. It did not match the diagnosis of progressive dementia that had put her in this place. When I mentioned this to my father later, he shook his head. "She has good days and bad days. Today was a good day. But trust me, most of the time she does not know where she is or who anyone is. She seemed fine to me. You do not see her every day. You do not deal with the phone calls at 3 in the morning because she forgot where she is. You do not handle the finances, the medications, the constant supervision she needs." He sighed. "I know it is hard to see, but your grandmother is not the woman she used to be. The dementia has taken that from her." I accepted his explanation. What else could I do? He was her son. He knew her better than I did. But I kept visiting. Every Sunday without fail for 11 years. We developed rituals, Grandma Edie and I. I would bring her favorite tea, the Earl Grey she had drunk every afternoon for as long as I could remember. I would pick up pastries from the bakery on Madison Street, the same bakery where she and my grandfather used to go for their anniversary every year. We would sit by the window in her room, watching the world go by, and we would talk. She told me stories about the jewelry business, about the first diamond she ever appraised, a 2-carat stone from an estate sale that turned out to be worth 10 times what the seller thought, about the time she traveled to Antwerp to meet with diamond dealers, the only woman in a room full of men, and walked out with contracts that tripled the store's inventory, about the pieces she had acquired over the years, the stories behind each one, the history embedded in every stone and setting. "Every piece of jewelry has a story," she told me once, holding up her hand to show me a ring she never took off. It was simple, a small ruby surrounded by tiny diamonds, nothing flashy by modern standards. This ring was my grandmother's. She brought it from Ireland when she immigrated in 1892. She wore it through famine and hardship and a voyage across the ocean. When she died, she gave it to my mother. When my mother died, she gave it to me. And someday, it will belong to someone else. Who? She smiled. Whoever earns it. Whoever proves they understand what it means. I thought about that conversation often over the years. Whoever earns it. Whoever proves they understand. And over those 11 years, I started to notice things. Grandma Edie had good days when I visited. Only when I visited. According to the nursing staff, according to my father, according to everyone else, she was confused and disoriented most of the time. But every Sunday when I walked into her room, she was sharp, alert, present. She asked me about things I had told her the previous week. She remembered my girlfriend's name, remembered when we broke up, remembered when I started dating someone new. She knew my work schedule, knew which shifts were hardest, knew which firefighters I respected and which ones I struggled to work with. She followed current events, commenting on news stories, asking informed questions about politics and economics and the changing world. The markets are volatile, she said once, when I mentioned something about my retirement fund. But gold holds its value, always has. That is why I invested in it when I was young. You invested in gold? Among other things, a woman in my position working in a field dominated by men, you learn to protect yourself. You learn to build security that no one can take away from you. I filed that comment away, thinking it was just reminiscing. I did not understand then what she was really telling me. That was not dementia. I had done enough research to know that dementia does not work that way. People with real dementia do not turn it on and off like a light switch. They do not have 11 years of consistent clarity with one person and confusion with everyone else. Something was not right. But whenever I tried to raise the issue with my family, they shut me down. She is good at hiding it, my Aunt Maureen said. She puts on a show when someone visits. But we see the real her. We see how bad it has gotten. She likes you, my father said. You make her happy. Of course she is going to seem better when you are there. But that does not mean she is better. You are not a doctor, my brother Spencer said. You are not qualified to judge her mental state. The professionals have diagnosed her. Accept it. So I stopped pushing. But I never stopped wondering. The Easter dinner was 3 months before I found the safe deposit box. The nursing home had organized a holiday celebration in the dining hall. Families were invited to join their loved ones for a special meal. My father and mother were there, along with my Aunt Maureen and Uncle Vance and my brother Spencer. Everyone gathered around Grandma Edie's wheelchair, making polite conversation, treating her like she was not really there. Does she even know it is Easter? Spencer asked, talking about her as if she could not hear. Probably not, my father said. She has been having a bad week. The nurses said she barely recognized them this morning. I watched Grandma Edie's face as they talked. Her expression was blank, vacant, the look they always described. But I had learned to see past that look over 11 years of visits. I had learned to notice the subtle signs. Her eyes were not vacant. They were watchful. She was listening to every word. About halfway through the meal, while everyone else was focused on their food and their conversations, I felt something under the table. A hand touching mine, fingers pressing something into my palm. I looked down as discreetly as I could. Grandma Edie was still staring straight ahead, her expression unchanged. But her hand was wrapped around mine, and in my palm was a small metal object. A key. It was old and rusty, the metal corroded with age. There was a number stamped on the head, 1847. I closed my fingers around it, hiding it from view. What is that? My father asked, his attention suddenly on me. He had noticed something. Nothing. Just stretching. No, your hand. What is in your hand? Before I could react, he reached across the table and grabbed my wrist. He pried my fingers open and saw the key. Where did you get that? He demanded. Grandma gave it to me. He looked at her, then back at the key. Then he started to laugh. That is her old safe deposit key. From First Tennessee. That bank failed in the 90s, Brennan. Whatever was in that box is long gone. He held the key up for everyone to see. Look at this. She has been keeping this worthless piece of junk for 30 years. Sad, really? Aunt Maureen said. She probably does not even remember what it was for. Let me have it back, I said. Why? It is worthless. Because she gave it to me. It obviously meant something to her. My father shrugged and tossed the key back to me. Fine. Keep your souvenir. But do not get your hopes up. That bank has been gone for decades. I put the key in my pocket and did not say another word for the rest of the meal. But Grandma Edie caught my eye once, just for a second, and I could have sworn I saw her smile. 3 months later, she called me. I did not even know she had access to a phone. According to the nursing home, according to my father, she was not capable of making calls anymore. She did not remember how to use a phone. She did not remember phone numbers. But at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number, and when I answered, I heard her voice. Brennan, listen carefully. I do not have much time. Grandma? How are you calling me? Never mind that. Listen. The key I gave you. Do not listen to what your father said. The bank did not fail. It was acquired. First Tennessee. Go there. Box 1847. It is still there. It has always been there. Grandma, I do not understand. You will. When you open that box, you will understand everything. Her voice was clear, urgent, nothing like the confused old woman my family described. You are the only one I can trust, Brennan. The only one who treated me like a person. Promise me you will go. I promise. Good. There was a pause. I love you, grandson. I always have. Now go. The line went dead. I stared at my phone for a long time, trying to process what had just happened. My grandmother, who supposedly could not remember her own name most days, had just called me with specific instructions about a bank and a safe deposit box. Either she was not as confused as everyone thought, or I was losing my mind. The next morning, I drove to Memphis to find out which one it was. The bank was in a building I had driven past 100 times without noticing. The name on the sign was different now, the result of decades of mergers and acquisitions, but the building was the same one where my grandmother had opened her account in 1981. I walked in with the key and asked to speak to someone about a safe deposit box. That was how I ended up in the manager's office, watching him make phone calls, waiting to find out if my grandmother's key was worthless junk or something else entirely. The vault was in the basement. 2 security guards escorted me down, along with the branch manager and a notary public who was there to document the opening. The elevator descended slowly, each floor passing with a soft chime, the anticipation building in my chest until I could barely breathe. They led me through a heavy steel door into a room lined with metal boxes, hundreds of them, each with a number on the front. The air was cool and dry, climate-controlled to protect whatever treasures were locked inside these walls. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting everything in a flat, institutional glow. Box 1847 was in the back corner, larger than most of the others. The manager explained that my grandmother had requested an oversized box when she opened the account, had paid extra for the additional space. At the time, he said that was unusual. Most customers only needed a small box for documents and a few valuables. Your grandmother knew what she wanted, he said. She was very specific about the size, very specific about the security features. She asked questions that most customers never think to ask. I stood in front of the box, the key heavy in my hand. 43 years. This box had been waiting here for 43 years, paid for automatically, untouched, holding secrets that my grandmother had guarded for most of my life. Whenever you are ready, Mr. Holloway, the manager said. I inserted the key into the lock. It was stiff, corroded, but it turned. The mechanism clicked. I pulled the long metal box from its slot, surprised by its weight, and carried it to a table in the center of the room. Everyone stepped back, giving me space. The notary public had her pen ready. The security guards stood at attention. The manager watched with barely concealed curiosity. I lifted the lid, and my breath stopped. The box was full of jewelry. Not costume jewelry, not fashion accessories, but real, genuine, precious jewelry. Rings with diamonds that caught the light and threw rainbows on the walls. Necklaces heavy with rubies and emeralds. Bracelets of gold and platinum. Earrings with pearls the size of grapes. I reached in and lifted a necklace, a cascade of emeralds set in white gold, each stone perfectly matched in color and clarity. It was the most beautiful piece of jewelry I had ever seen, and there were dozens more just like it, layered in the box like secrets waiting to be told. Underneath the jewelry were coins, gold coins in protective cases, each one labeled with a date and a description in my grandmother's careful handwriting. Some of them were from the 1800s, some were older. American gold eagles and British sovereigns and French Napoleons, each one chosen for its rarity, its condition, its value. And underneath the coins were documents, bearer bonds from decades ago, stock certificates in companies I recognized and some I did not, insurance policies documenting specific pieces and their appraised values, a detailed inventory of everything in the box, updated periodically over the years, the most recent entry dated just 6 months ago. She had been maintaining this collection, even from the nursing home, even while everyone thought she was confused. She had been keeping track of her treasures. At the very bottom of the box was an envelope, yellowed with age, with my name written on the front in my grandmother's careful handwriting. My hands were shaking as I picked it up. I could feel the eyes of everyone in the room on me, could feel their curiosity and confusion. But I did not care. This letter was for me. This moment was for me. I opened the envelope and began to read. My dearest Brennan, if you are reading this, then you found the box. You trusted me when no one else would. You went to the bank when everyone told you it was worthless. That is why you deserve what is inside. I need to tell you something that I have never told anyone else. I am not confused. I have never been confused. The dementia that everyone believes I have is a performance, a role I have been playing for almost 15 years. I know that sounds impossible. I know that sounds cruel. But let me explain. When your grandfather died in 1995, I was alone for the first time in my life. I was 70 years old, I had a small pension, a small savings, and a collection of jewelry and coins that I had been building for 45 years. I made the mistake of telling your father about the collection. I thought he would be proud of me. I thought he would be impressed that his mother had built something of value over the course of her lifetime. Instead, he saw dollar signs. He started asking questions about specific pieces, about their value, about where I kept them. He started suggesting that I should sell some of them, that the money would be better in a bank account than locked up in old jewelry. I knew what he was really asking. He wanted to know what he would inherit. He wanted to know how much I was worth. Over the next few years, things started to disappear from my house. A ring that had been in my jewelry box for decades. A necklace that I had bought at an estate sale in 1978. A set of gold coins that I kept in a drawer in my bedroom. When I asked about them, your father and your aunt told me I was misremembering. I had probably sold them years ago. I had probably given them away. I was getting older, they said. My memory was not what it used to be. But I remembered. I remembered everything. I started to realize what was happening. My own children were stealing from me, and they were using my age, my supposed confusion, as cover for their theft. That was when I made a decision. If they wanted me to be confused, I would be confused. I would play the part so well that they would never suspect the truth. And while they were busy taking the things I let them find, I would hide my real treasures somewhere they could never reach. I opened the safe deposit box in 1981, when your grandfather was still alive. I had been putting things in it for years, slowly, carefully, the most valuable pieces from my collection. When I realized what your father and aunt were doing, I moved everything else there too. Everything that mattered. Everything that was worth saving. And then I let them think I was losing my mind. I know what you must be thinking. Why did I not fight back? Why did I not call the police, hire a lawyer, protect myself through legal means? Because I was tired, Brennan. I was 80 years old and I was tired of fighting. I had worked my whole life, raised 2 children who turned out to be thieves, and I did not have the energy for a legal battle that would tear apart whatever remained of my family. So I chose a different path. I let them think they had won. I let them put me in a nursing home, let them take control of my finances, let them believe that I was too confused to understand what was happening. But I was never confused. I watched them. I listened to them. I heard every comment they made about me when they thought I could not understand. Every joke about the crazy old woman. Every complaint about the burden of taking care of me. And I kept my real treasures safe, waiting for the right person to give them to. That person is you. For 11 years, you visited me every Sunday. You talked to me like I was a person, not a problem. You asked my opinion about things. You remembered what I told you and asked follow-up questions. You treated me with respect and dignity when everyone else treated me like I was already dead. You are the only one who deserved to know the truth. You are the only one I trust with what I have built. The jewelry in this box represents 45 years of work. 45 years of learning, of studying, of developing an eye for value that most people never acquire. Every piece in this collection was chosen for a reason. Every piece has a story. And now those stories belong to you. I have also included documentation of everything your father and aunt took from me over the years. Every piece that disappeared. Every lie they told to cover their tracks. I kept records, Brennan. I always kept records. If you want to pursue legal action, you have everything you need to prove what they did. But that is your choice. I have made my peace with it. I have had 15 years to be angry, and I have decided that anger is not how I want to spend whatever time I have left. Use the money to build a good life. Take care of yourself. Find someone to love. Have children if you want them. And if your grandmother ever crosses your mind, remember me as I really was. Sharp, patient, and just stubborn enough to outsmart everyone who underestimated me. I love you, Brennan. I always have. You made an old woman's final years bearable, and I will never be able to thank you enough for that. With all my love, your Grandma Edie. P.S. If you want to tell your father and aunt the truth, feel free. I would love to see their faces when they realize the confused old woman was playing them the whole time. Consider it my final gift to myself. I stood in that vault for a long time, reading the letter over and over, tears streaming down my face. She was never confused. 15 years of playing a role, of pretending to be less than she was, of hiding her true self from people who were supposed to love her. And she had trusted me. She had trusted me with her secret, her treasures, her truth. I carefully packed everything back into the safe deposit box. The manager helped me arrange for secure transport to a storage facility while I figured out what to do next. The jewelry was appraised 2 weeks later. The total value, including the coins and bonds and other documents, was just over $2,300,000. My grandmother, the confused old woman who could not remember her own name, had left me a fortune. The confrontation with my family happened on a Sunday. I did not plan it. I had been struggling with what to do ever since I read the letter. Part of me wanted to keep quiet, to take the money and disappear, to never speak to my father or aunt again. That would have been easier. That would have avoided the conflict, the accusations, the ugliness that I knew would come. But another part of me remembered what my grandmother wrote in her letter. If you want to tell your father and aunt the truth, feel free. I would love to see their faces when they realize the confused old woman was playing them the whole time. Consider it my final gift to myself. She wanted them to know. She wanted them to understand that they had not gotten away with anything. She wanted the satisfaction of the reveal, even if she would not be there to see it. In the end, I decided that the truth was more important than my comfort, and that honoring her final wish was more important than avoiding conflict. I called a family meeting at my parents' house. I told them it was about Grandma Edie, that I had something important to share. My father seemed annoyed but agreed. My mother, who had always stayed neutral in family conflicts, seemed nervous. My Aunt Maureen came with her husband Vance, both of them looking put out by the inconvenience. My brother Spencer showed up late, as usual, still checking his phone as he walked through the door. We gathered in the living room, the same room where we had celebrated holidays and birthdays for as long as I could remember. The same room where, I now realized, my father and aunt had probably discussed their plans to steal from their own mother. "What is this about?" my father asked when everyone was settled. He was standing by the fireplace, arms crossed, radiating impatience. Did something happen to your grandmother? Not exactly. I pulled out a folder I had been carrying. I want to show you something. I opened the folder and spread its contents on the coffee table. Photographs of jewelry, appraisal documents, bank statements, records going back decades. I laid them out carefully, methodically, the way a lawyer might present evidence in court. What is all this? Aunt Maureen asked. She was sitting on the edge of her chair, her husband Vance beside her. Her eyes were scanning the documents, trying to understand what she was seeing. This is Grandma Edie's collection. The real collection. The one she hid from you. My father's face went pale. I watched the color drain from his cheeks, watched his arms uncross and his posture shift from impatience to alarm. What are you talking about? I went to the bank. The one you said failed in the 90s. It did not fail. It was acquired. And Grandma's safe deposit box was still there, waiting. Paid for automatically for 43 years. I pointed to the appraisal. $2,300,000. That is what was in the box. The room was silent. My mother had her hand over her mouth. Spencer had finally put down his phone. My aunt and uncle were staring at the documents like they were written in a foreign language. That is not possible, my father finally said. His voice was strained, higher than usual. She did not have that kind of money. She was a jewelry store clerk. She was a buyer. She spent 45 years learning what was valuable and what was not. And she built a collection that would make most dealers jealous. I pulled out the letter and held it up. She also left me this. A letter explaining everything. What does it say? It says she was never confused. The dementia was an act. She played confused because she knew you were stealing from her. And it was the only way to protect what she really valued. That is ridiculous, Aunt Maureen said. Her voice was loud, defensive. She has dementia. The doctors diagnosed her. The doctors saw what she wanted them to see. She was a smart woman, smarter than any of you ever gave her credit for. I set the letter on the table. She kept records. Every piece of jewelry that disappeared from her house. Every lie you told her about where it went. She knew exactly what you were doing. My father's face had gone from pale to red. His hands were clenched at his sides. You are accusing us of stealing from our own mother? I am not accusing you. She is, in her own words. She is confused. She does not know what she is saying. Then how did she tell me exactly where to find the safe deposit box? How did she call me with specific instructions when she supposedly does not even know how to use a phone? I shook my head. She fooled you. For 15 years she fooled all of you. And she did it because she could not trust her own children. This is insane, Spencer said. Grandma is sitting in a nursing home right now, probably drooling on herself. You expect us to believe she masterminded some kind of revenge plot. I do not expect you to believe anything. I am just telling you the truth. I gathered up the documents and put them back in the folder. The money is mine. She left it to me legally and clearly. If you want to contest it, go ahead. But I have her letter, I have the records, and I have 43 years of bank statements showing that she planned this long before any of you thought she was confused. We are her children, my father said. That money should be part of her estate. It should be divided among the family. She did not want to divide it among the family. She wanted to give it to the one person who treated her with respect. That was her choice, and I am going to honor it. I stood up and walked to the door. Brennan, my father called after me. You cannot just walk away. We are your family. I stopped and turned around. You are right. You are my family. And for years, I watched you treat Grandma like a burden. I listened to you complain about visiting her, about the cost of her care, about how much easier your lives would be when she was gone. I watched you steal from her, gaslight her, make her feel crazy for remembering things that really happened. We did not. She kept records. Every item, every date, every lie. It is all documented. I held up the folder. She knew you would deny it, so she made sure there was proof. My aunt was crying now, though I could not tell if it was from guilt or frustration. My father just looked stunned, like he could not process what was happening. Grandma Edie spent 15 years pretending to be confused so she could protect herself from her own children. Think about that. Think about what you did to make her feel like that was her only option. I opened the door. I am not going to apologize for being the one she trusted. I am just going to try to be worthy of it. I walked out and did not look back. I visited Grandma Edie the next day. She was sitting by the window as always, looking out at the parking lot. When she heard me come in, she turned. "You found it," she said. Her voice was clear, her eyes sharp. No pretense now. No performance. "I found it. And you told them?" "I told them everything. Showed them the letter, the records. They know." She smiled, a real smile, the kind I had not seen on her face in years. "Good. I wish I could have seen their faces. They were shocked, and angry, and scared." "Scared of what?" "Scared that you were right. Scared that you knew what they did. Scared that the confused old woman was smarter than all of them combined." She laughed, a dry chuckle that turned into a cough. "I was never as smart as they thought. I was stupid. That was their mistake." I sat down beside her and took her hand. "Why did you not tell me sooner? Why did you keep pretending, even with me?" "Because I needed to be sure. I needed to know that you were visiting because you cared about me, not because you thought there was something to gain." She squeezed my hand. 11 years, Brennan. Every Sunday. You never missed a single week. You never asked about money, never hinted about inheritance, never treated me like a transaction. That is rare. That is precious. I just wanted to spend time with you. I know. That is why you are the one I chose. She looked out the window. "The money is just money. It will run out eventually. But what you gave me, the respect, the companionship, the simple act of treating me like a human being, that was worth more than anything in that box." We sat together for a long time, watching the clouds drift past, not needing to fill the silence with words. "What are you going to do?" she finally asked. "With the money? I do not know yet. Pay off my house. Maybe take some time off work. Figure out what I really want to do with my life." "Good. Take your time. You have earned it." She turned to look at me. "And Brennan, do not let this change you. Do not let the money make you into someone you are not. I have seen what wealth does to people. It does not make them better. It just makes them more of what they already are. I will try to remember that. You will do more than try. You will succeed, because you are a good man. And good men do not let money change who they are." She died 3 months later, peacefully in her sleep, in the same room where I had visited her every Sunday for 11 years. The nurses said she went quietly, without pain, without distress. Just closed her eyes one night and did not open them again. I was the first one they called. Not my father, not my aunt, but me. Because I was her emergency contact. Because I was the one who showed up. Because I was the one she trusted. I drove to the nursing home that night, even though there was nothing I could do. I sat in her room for hours, looking at the empty bed, the chair by the window where she always sat, the small table where we had shared so many cups of tea. The room still smelled like her, like Earl Grey and lavender and something else, something that was just her. I breathed it in, trying to memorize it, knowing that soon it would fade and all I would have left were memories. I was the one who planned the funeral. My father and aunt offered to help, but their offers felt hollow, motivated more by guilt than by genuine grief. They wanted to be involved, I think, because they felt they should be, not because they actually cared. So I told them I would handle it myself. The service was small. A few of her old colleagues from the jewelry store, women in their 80s who remembered her from decades ago. They told stories about her that I had never heard, about deals she had made, about pieces she had discovered, about the respect she commanded in an industry that did not always respect women. Some of the nursing home staff came too, the ones who had grown fond of her over the years. They told me she had been their favorite resident, even when she was difficult. They did not know about the performance, about the dementia that was not real. But they knew she was special. A handful of distant relatives showed up, cousins and second cousins who had not seen her in years. They offered condolences that felt rote, obligatory, the kind of words people say at funerals because they do not know what else to say. And me, her grandson, the one she trusted. My father and aunt sat in the back row, separate from me, not meeting my eyes. They had come because it would have looked bad if they had not. But they did not speak at the service. They did not share memories. They did not pretend to grieve. I delivered the eulogy. My grandmother Edith was a remarkable woman, I said. She spent 45 years working in the jewelry business, developing an expertise that made her one of the most respected buyers in the industry. She could look at a piece and tell you its history, its value, its story. She saw beauty in things that other people overlooked. But her greatest skill was not appraising jewelry. It was appraising people. She could see who you really were, beneath the surface, beneath the performance we all put on for the world. She knew who to trust and who to keep at arm's length. And she was rarely wrong. In her final years, she faced challenges that would have broken a lesser person. But she did not break. She adapted. She found a way to protect herself and her legacy, to ensure that what she had built would go to someone who deserved it. I was lucky enough to be that person. Not because of anything special I did, but because I showed up. I visited her. I listened to her. I treated her like she mattered because she did. She mattered more than I ever realized until it was almost too late. Grandma Edie taught me that the most valuable things in life are not the ones you can put a price tag on. They are the connections you build, the trust you earn, the love you share. Everything else is just stuff. Beautiful stuff sometimes, valuable stuff, but still just stuff. I will miss her every day for the rest of my life, but I will carry her lessons with me wherever I go. See the beauty in overlooked things. Trust the people who show up. And never, ever underestimate a little old lady with a plan. After the funeral, I went back to the nursing home one last time. Her room had been cleared out, her belongings packed into boxes that no one had come to claim. I had arranged to have them sent to my house. I stood in the empty room, looking out the window at the same view she had looked at for so many years. The parking lot, the trees beyond, the sky stretching out to the horizon. "Thank you," I said to the empty room, "for trusting me, for teaching me, for showing me that it is never too late to fight back, even when everyone thinks you have already lost." The wind rattled the window. A bird sang somewhere outside, and I liked to think she could hear me. It has been a year since my grandmother died. The money is still there, most of it, carefully invested with the help of a financial advisor who understood what I wanted. Not quick gains, not flashy returns, but steady growth. The kind of patient, long-term thinking that my grandmother would have approved of. I paid off my house, set up a retirement fund, donated some to the nursing home where she spent her final years, earmarked for programs that help elderly residents maintain their dignity and independence. I thought she would have liked that, but I did not quit my job. I did not buy a mansion or a sports car or any of the things people think you should buy when you come into money. I am still a firefighter. I still work 48-hour shifts, still respond to calls in the middle of the night, still come home smelling like smoke and feeling like I made a difference. Because that is what she wanted. She did not leave me money to change who I was. She left me money to make sure I could stay who I was, without the pressure of bills and debts and all the things that force people to compromise their values. I kept some of the jewelry too. Not to sell, but to remember. The ruby ring that belonged to her grandmother, the one she told me about all those years ago. A pair of diamond earrings she bought in 1975 to celebrate her 20th anniversary at the store. A gold bracelet that my grandfather gave her on their wedding day. I wear the ring sometimes. Not often, just on special occasions. It feels strange on my finger, this delicate piece of history that has been passed down through generations of women in my family. But it also feels right. It feels like she is still with me, still watching, still proud. I think about her every day, about the lessons she taught me, about the trust she placed in me, about the remarkable woman she was beneath the performance she put on for the world. She spent 15 years playing a role, pretending to be less than she was, enduring the condescension and dismissal of people who were supposed to love her. And she did it all to protect what she had built and to ensure it went to someone who deserved it. That takes strength. That takes patience. That takes a kind of courage that most people never develop. My father and aunt have not spoken to me since the funeral. I hear things through relatives sometimes. They are angry. They feel cheated. They tell people I manipulated a confused old woman into giving me her money. Let them talk. The truth is documented. The truth is in her handwriting, in her records, in 43 years of bank statements. The truth is that she knew exactly what she was doing, and she did it brilliantly. They hired a lawyer about 6 months after the funeral, tried to contest the transfer of assets, claiming undue influence, claiming she lacked the mental capacity to make financial decisions. Their lawyer looked at the evidence and advised them to drop the case. The documentation was too thorough, the planning too meticulous, the proof of her mental acuity too overwhelming. She had thought of everything. Even from the nursing home, even while pretending to be confused, she had anticipated every challenge they might raise and prepared a defense against it. That is who she really was. Not the confused old woman in the wheelchair. Not the burden that her children complained about. She was a strategist, planner, a woman who spent 45 years learning to see value where others saw nothing, and who applied that same skill to protecting her legacy. I visit her grave every Sunday now, the same day I used to visit her at the nursing home. I bring flowers, the yellow roses she always loved, and I sit beside her headstone and I talk to her. Sometimes I tell her about my week, the calls we responded to, the lives we saved, the ones we lost. She always wanted to know about my work, always asked questions that showed she understood what it meant to me. Sometimes I tell her about the garden I started, the one she always encouraged me to plant. I have tomatoes now and peppers and herbs that I use when I cook dinner. She would have loved to see it. Sometimes I tell her about the woman I have been seeing. Her name is Colleen, and she is a nurse at the hospital where we take our patients. We met on a call and something clicked. Grandma Edie would have approved of her. She is practical and kind and does not care about the money. She likes me for who I am, not what I have. I think she is the one, I told Grandma Edie's headstone last Sunday. I am going to ask her to marry me, and if she says yes, I am going to give her the ruby ring. Your grandmother's ring. The one you said would go to whoever earned it. The wind moved through the cemetery. The sun shone down on the headstone, and I like to think she could hear me. I like to think she was smiling. The key still hangs on a chain around my neck. The same rusty key she pressed into my palm at Easter dinner. The key everyone said was worthless. The key that unlocked everything. I wear it every day. Not because I need a reminder, but because I want one. A reminder that the most valuable things are often hidden in plain sight. A reminder that patience and persistence can defeat cruelty and greed. A reminder that one person, showing up consistently, treating someone with respect, can make all the difference in the world. Sometimes people ask about it. Coworkers, friends, strangers who notice the old key hanging against my chest. I tell them it belonged to my grandmother. I tell them it reminds me of her. I do not tell them the whole story. That would take too long, and some stories are too precious to share with everyone. But I know the story. I carry it with me, along with the key, along with the ring, along with all the lessons she taught me in 11 years of Sunday visits. Grandma Edie was never confused. She was the smartest person I ever knew, and she spent her final years playing the long game, setting up a legacy that would outlast her, making sure that kindness was rewarded and greed was punished. I am proud to be the one she trusted with that legacy. I am proud to carry her memory. I am proud to be her grandson. And every Sunday, when I sit beside her grave and talk to her about my life, I like to think she is proud of me too. Thank you for walking this journey with me. Before you go, I have left 2 more stories here on your screen. Both from men who discovered that family is not always who you are born to. It is who stands by you when the truth comes out. Click on whichever one calls to you. And if you want to join our community of people who understand what it is like to be the outsider looking in, that notification bell is your invitation. Until tomorrow, remember, your story matters, even if they tried to erase it.